What's up, guys? It's Steve here. I'm back here again doing another great video for 5 Minute Theory. As in last time with you guys, I've done a few little changes around with the setup of the camera. Thought I'd do a bit more relaxed, a bit more improv rather than a guy standing behind a wall with a whiteboard just reading off a sheet. So today's going to be a bit more of a natural video. So let's get cracking into it then, really. So the last time we did our lesson, which was about the staves and clefs, left you with a little question leading on to this episode, which today's question was about this note here on the clef and to suggest what the name of the note is. And so today we're going to work out how we would work that out. Now what we can see is we do know it's using a treble clef, so this is suggesting too is that it's using a higher pitch range. But as I say, back to the question of how do we work it out. So I thought before we start with the answer, let's start off working out what's behind pitch. How do we work out what is pitch? What is high pitched? What is low pitched? Well, it all starts off really going off with what's going on through your ears. Pitch is a perceptual property of sound that is to do with frequency produced when notes travel through the air. The noise vibrates with air molecules producing the sound waves that travel through our ears. Our ears then feed the signal to our brain, which we then interpret it into sound or pitch. So on the whiteboard, I'm going to draw a mock-up of a sound wave, basically. So here we are. So if we do it like this, there we go. And gone a bit crazy at the end. So it looks like this. Now, if you look and see that on the left side, the waves are spaced further apart than at the right side. This is representing frequency or pitch. Lower pitch notes have a wider spaced sound wave, when higher pitch ones have a shorter spacing. Now, if we were to draw a series of lines along this sound wave, we're going to chop it up into equal sections. So I'm going to just do that now. So we have one, two, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 1, 2, 3. I thought so. And there we are. So what I've done now is I've chopped this up into 10 sections. The reason why I've chopped these up into 10 sections is firstly, this is interpreted as the rough hearing range of the human ear. What audiologists wanted to do is they wanted to chop the range or the hearing range up into smaller sections to try and categorize the areas. So they cut them into equal sections and called them octaves. Now, the start of the octave to the end of the octave and on to the next is around about double the frequency of the previous octave. Now, what they wanted to do further in order to categorize the sound waves in between these octaves for instruments that produce definite pitch, such as pianos, guitars, human voice, etc., into a note identification system. Instruments of indefinite pitch, they don't produce exact note frequencies, so are just categorized around as like a low, a mid, or a high pitched instruments. These are mainly in the drum family. There is some that are tuned and can produce a specific note, but in general, drums are produce pitch dependent on the velocity of being hit and the area of the skin that's been hit. But if we go back to the waves, they took the sections of octaves and chopped it up in further. So if I just draw an octave like that, and I do my wave like that, and then I'm just going to get another pen. They then chop these into a total of 12 sections. So you had your, so you had one, two, three, four, five, so 7. So they chopped it up into 7 sections, and in between these they categorised, had 5 additional sections equating to 12 sections. Then they decided to give these 7 main sections names, which they used letters of the alphabet. They usually started them on the letter C and up to G, then rotated back to A and B. So they were categorised like this. So I'm going to actually use a red pen to make it a bit more noticeable. So yeah, we got there. And the ones in sections in between, they wanted to categorise them further, so they call them accidentals. So accidental here, accidental. Accidentals are associated. Well, the most common version of accidentals is sharps and flats. So one question you may ask is why there isn't an accidental between on here E and F, and what would be B and C. The main reasons, it's not an exact answer there out there, but what they were looking at when they were chopping the sounds up is they were arranging the frequencies to make them more distinguishable, more audio acceptable. So the resulting frequency between E and F and B and C were quite close. So in order to produce a sharp or flat or accidental in between the notes, it wouldn't be very distinguishable, so they weren't needed. So back to the octave range and getting into the original question of the stave. Around about what they did to categorise the notes is they had a series of C, so C0 and C10. What they did was, audiologists, they used the fourth C, C4, so C0, C1, C2, C3, C4, and they used it here. Now, what they categorised that as they called that middle C. So what they are, I'll get my words out in a minute, sorry. So they had the middle C. Now back to the stave and clef in question. What they did with the treble clef stave is they then put the middle C and one ledger line below. Do you see it? C. So if we were to count up the notes, bearing in mind we've got line, space, we would get C, D, E, F. So the answer of the original question of what the note name is shown here, the answer is F. So we have eventually got there, and that will do us about time for today. What we're going to be doing in the next episode, explaining more, is we're going to be going into accidentals into more detail, and we're also going to go into the relevance between the two main staves that are used in popular music of treble and clef. So I think that's about do us for today, really. Again, if you're out there, just don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. There's going to be plenty of good content coming up from yourselves in the not too distant future. So, on that opportunity, I'd like to take this and say thank you very much for tuning in, stopping by, and I'll see you later on, eh? Ta.